As yeah, we got a lot. We got look at all this. Look at those. Look at all this. Look at all this football we got to talk about right here. We're gonna go through it again as quickly as we can, covering all 91 games. We are predicting who we got, who we don't got, and then some things in between here and there. The first game to open up week 1, it's my Boise State Broncos, number 13 at your sports outpost, heads over to Tampa, Florida to take on USF. We are taking the Broncos. We're expecting that game to be a blowout. Yeah, it is what it is. Well, we think Boise State is playoff material, and playoff teams, they like blowing out teams that are not playoff material there. Lafayette is the next one we got going on to the right. They will be going to Bowling Green, Ohio to take on the Falcons. We are going to take the MAC school there, as it's an FCS versus FBS kind of contest. So, you know, you got to go with Bowling Green. I think that one is pretty low in the predicted margins, which is kind of surprising. But, you know, it's Bowling Green under Eddie George, he's still with us. The great running back for Ohio State, and then at the Tennessee Titans, if you can remember that all those years ago. The next one we got moving to the right there, as we're going right. No, wait, no, left to right. I was gonna say right to left, but dyslexia. Ohio at Rutgers, the next game. The Bobcats should make it competitive as they usually do. But we are expecting Rutgers to come out with a victory there. If they don't, that's going to be a bad start to the 2025 campaign for the Scarlet Knights. So we're going Rutgers. St. Francis is that cool ass helmet right there with that looks like the Chargers logo on the helmet. But it's St. Francis. They will head down to Louisiana to take on UL Monroe. The Warhawks currently have a 6-game losing streak. I just saw that over on X before I went live, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Just saw a bunch of teams that we're going to be bringing up actually that have a multiple game losing streaks, the highest in the FBS level. So there's more to come when we bring up that. We're going to go with the Warhawks, even though St. Francis last season, I guess, had an upset against Kent State. They did beat an FBS program in 2024. We're not expecting that, even though UL Monroe is pretty down there. And this one didn't have, I don't think, any kind of line for it, but it should be actually pretty close game for at least 3 quarters. Delaware State versus Delaware, as Delaware, I'm forgetting their mascot off the top of my head. I'll learn that by week 2 or week 3 as they join the FBS ranks, one of the 2 programs coming up to Conference USA. We're gonna go with the new guys, and that'll be Delaware. Going back over to the left, we got Jack State heading over to Orlando to take on UCF in the Boomhouse. We're gonna take UCF. We don't think Jacksonville State is gonna go do much of anything without Rich Rod there. He's moved now on to West Virginia. Yeah, just you just can't take the Gamecocks in this kind of scenario. But we'll go UCF in Coach Frost's re-debut there with the Golden Knights. As we keep moving to the right into that second column, that is East Carolina taking on NC State. We got some Carolina schools going at it. I think in years past, the Pirates would be, giving the Wolfpack a run for its money. I just don't think this time around it's going to be much of a thing. We're going to go Wolfpack down there in Raleigh, North Carolina. Wyoming taking on Akron, as we're chewing through halfway, I believe, through these Thursday games. An interesting one would be a very, very big loss for the Mountain West if the Cowboys go over to Akron, Ohio, and not get the job done against the Zips. This is pretty slim in a way, at least one possession. I think it's like 5.5 in favor of Wyoming. So it should be a close game for sure. But we're also going to go with the Mountain West school that should be beating the Zips there in Mac Nation. UT Martin, which is Tennessee Martin, at Oklahoma State. The Pokes are on a 9-game losing streak. If you joined us or watched any of our previews, week 2, we talked about Oklahoma State taking on Oregon and how they ended their 2024 campaign with 9 in a row losing. Yeah, they should end that streak for at least week 1. We'll see how they do in the rest of their Big 12 schedule. They take on actually Oregon next week, which is that's going to be a toughie up in Eugene. But we're also going to be taking the Cowboys here against Tennessee Martin for sure. Elon, not Elon, but Elon, the school, they will be heading over to Durham, North Carolina to take on Duke. We're taking the Blue Devils. That one's pretty easy peasy. Let's keep moving. Central Arkansas heads over to Columbia, Missouri to take on the Tigers. We're back over here on the left. We are definitely not taking Central Arkansas, the FCS program. Missouri should be getting the job done. Maybe they struggle a little bit because they got to rejig everything. I mean, this program's been doing all right for themselves under Drinkwitz and getting an influx of transfer portal guys that have, been very, very important in winning a lot of games up there in Columbia, Missouri. And they'll continue to do that with a nice launch against Central Arkansas here in week 1. Buffalo at Minnesota. Golden Gophers, they weren't all yellow. I just saw what they were wearing, I think, last night. I thought it was just absolutely disgusting. Yellow on yellow on yellow from the lid all the way down to the pants. And I'm guessing maybe even the cleats might be a little yellow. And that's just, that's too much yellow for me. But we're still going to go with the Golden Gophers over Buffalo. Yeah, that's just not a game we want to take. Fleck, I think, is the last name of the head coach for Minnesota. Doing an all right job for himself, playing some physical football. Should be more than physical enough for that MAC team coming into town. Houston will be hosting Stephen F. Austin. I think it was I think it's Tarleton State because they have like very similar logos. We'll see Tarleton State here, I think, on the Friday games. But a decent program for the FCS. Definitely not going to get the job done against Houston. It's going to be Weigman, the former quarterback over at Texas A&M's first game. He should be, getting the ball rolling over there for the Cougs. And yeah, we're definitely going to go Houston. Alabama State at UAB. That one's in Birmingham, Alabama. One of the few helmets I haven't gotten done in general. I had to do that one this past week. They didn't play an FBS program last year, so that's why I didn't get to do anything for Alabama State. Kind of liking the lid. It's all right. A little gold ASU on there. Very simple, keeping it, I guess, somewhat clean. They, again, take on the Blaze. We're going to go UAB. I think that's going to be one of the close ones. To be quite honest with you, there's a few of them that we'll point out. That's one of them that might not go the Blazes' way. Wouldn't be surprised if they somehow get upsetted somewhat, I guess. I don't know. That's like a bottom end American program going up against an FCS school. That's it's all right. Miami of Ohio heads to Madison, Wisconsin. And I think this one's going to also be interesting. Could the Redhawks show up in Madison and be jumping around? We don't think so, but it's definitely going to be a close game. Miami of Ohio, they have a pretty good non-conference schedule in general over year after year. They always play Cincinnati, so they're more than prepared early on in any season just to be competitive. I don't think it's going to go their way, unfortunately, and yeah, we're going to go Wisconsin. And then the final 2 games on the page for Friday night. We got Stony Brook at San Diego State. The Aztecs are on a 6-game losing streak. We should expect them taking on this FCS opponent and getting the job done and ending that streak here going into 2025. So yeah, take us for San Diego State there. The biggest one, I guess, besides the Boise USF game that we started off with on Thursday, will be Nebraska versus Cincinnati. It's the Kelsey Bowl in there at Arrowhead in Kansas City, Missouri. Are the Cornhuskers for real? That's the big question. Starting out 2025, they start against Cincy. I think it's gonna be a pretty interesting game. Should be close. I don't remember the margins off the top of my head, but if Nebraska doesn't get the job done, boy, is that gonna be fun to come in on Sunday's show when we do the aftermaths, which is gonna be before the kickoff of that Notre Dame Miami game, which we are watching along. It's gonna be a very, very long Sunday, just like Saturday. It's usually 16 hours on Saturday, about five expecting for the Sunday live streams here on Rumble. But yeah, that is Thursday's games and who we got. As we move into Friday's games, we got Tarleton State at Army there to start on that top corner. There on the left. We're gonna go Knights. We aren't taking Tarleton State. That's the other program that has been flirting with the possibility of moving to the FBS. Conference USA is going to be losing some schools. They might be one of those replacements if CUSA has more of an exodus. I know they've already announced this past offseason that Louisiana Tech will be joining the Sun Belt. So, we'll see how that all happens. And I think even during the offseason and early parts, UTEP announced that they are going to the Mountain West in 2026. So we'll see how that all goes. Kennesaw State at Wake Forest is the next one to the right of those helmets. Interesting one. New head coach over there at Wake Forest comes in from Wazoo up in Pullman. We'll see how that experiment goes. We're definitely going to take the Demon Deacons. Even though Kennesaw State has an interesting system, we'll see if it can handle any kind of ACC football. I'm guessing this game will be somewhat close in the first two halves, and then Wake Forest should pull away. Another game on a neutral site field in Charlotte, North Carolina. We got Appalachian State taking on the Charlotte 49ers. This game should be somewhat close, pretty entertaining, I would say. You got the American versus the Sun Belt. If I'm not mistaken, Appalachian State is favored by almost a touchdown. That's I think maybe cutting it close. Maybe App State post Joey Aguilar isn't scoring as many points. We'll see how that goes. We're taking App State though in general because they've just been a very competitive program. Love them out of Boone. Bethune Cookman at FIU is the final game on that top row on the right. Two Florida schools, one in the FCS, one in the FBS. A lot of them here for week one. We're going to take the Golden Panthers. But usually they do have some slow starts to the season in general. I remember, I think it was week one in 2023. Them against La Tech was just not a fun game to watch. Should be somewhat fun for the Golden Panthers as I think they still have that Pit Bull sponsorship going on. The Dale 609 or whatever the area code is over there in those parts of Miami, Florida. But yeah, we're going to go FIU there. Western Michigan back over to the left. We'll head over to East Lansing to take on Michigan State. We're definitely going to take the Spartans in Jonathan Smith's second year as their head coach. Yeah, Western Michigan against Big Ten. The last couple of seasons has just been completely non-existent, ugly as hell. It'll most likely not be that way. Even though Aiden Childs goes into his second season as a starter for the Spartans. But yeah, it should be somewhat of a decent game. But then obviously Michigan State is going to be pulling away. Kansas hosts Wagner is the next one over. Kansas, one of the few teams that participated in week one where they got the win. Also, again at home at the newly renovated David Booth Memorial Stadium. They will host Wagner there. That should be a nice game. Post win against Fresno State for the Jayhawks to go 2-0. Western Illinois versus the number 10 school here at your Sports Outpost, Illinois. The Fighting Illini hosts, I think it's the Bulldogs out of Western Illinois. Should be a physical game that turns obviously into Illinois' way. Who should be winning that one as they host that FCS program? A big one here on Friday. Next up is Auburn at Baylor. I was thinking about doing a preview for it, but Auburn should be winning that one, to be quite honest with you. They should have the better players, more talent, even though Baylor has a lot of experience going into 2025. The line at the moment is about a field goal. I would say Auburn should be scoring a little bit more than that. I really like Jackson Arnold with his wide receiver core going into 2025. So yeah, I don't know why that line at the moment is so low. Baylor's already lost a running back. Again, they just have more experience than talent, and yeah, I'm not expecting them to win this one at home in Waco. There's a lot of home games that we aren't picking, or a lot of home games that we are taking. This is one of the few here in week one that we aren't taking, which is a little surprising because you go into the next one, which is Georgia Tech at Colorado. We're going to dive into that one a little bit more later on the stream. But Georgia Tech is the favorite, just under 5 points there. We're going to take the Yellow Jackets. We'll tell you why here after we get through again this quick picks somewhat. UNLV at Sam Houston State. Two teams that played in week 0, both had tough weeks. I would say UNLV, even with the win, had a tough week against Idaho State. But are they going to continue to struggle here going into week 1 on the road there? And then I really like that Sam Houston State quarterback, Hunter Watson. He had like a 50+ yard run on the ground, found a nice lane. Do we see that this upcoming weekend? Because UNLV were gifted a lot of turnovers there at home against Idaho State. Do they get the benefit of the doubt this upcoming weekend? Probably. They should have more than enough talent to get the job done. It's just going to be probably another close one. This one, whatever the margins are, if it's less than the possession, I think that's more accurate. If it's more than that, I actually wouldn't be surprised to see UNLV struggle and maybe just win by a field goal or a little bit more than that. Central Michigan at San Jose State. Another MAC team taking on the Mountain West. We're going to take the Spartans. A lot of hype going into that program this upcoming season. Niamala Tololo, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. The longtime head coach over for the Navy midshipmen, came in a couple of seasons ago as, I don't think he was a coordinator off the top of my head. Then moved himself into that position to become head coach going into 2024. Has done a pretty good job. I believe they had some pretty good games against Washington State and Oregon State. Maybe even won one of those two. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But the Spartans should be beating the Triple Walls. They're coming into town as they start their very somewhat hyped 2025 campaign. And those are the Friday games. As we move into Saturday morning's lineup, we'll be getting into a lot of these games this upcoming Saturday over on YT for our morning show. That'll be a hint of the red zone. If you know what that is, come and join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Before the morning game, the first one we'll start off with it'll be at a neutral site field, Syracuse versus number 19 Tennessee. That one is at Mercedes-Benz, as they got two games going on over there at that stadium. One on Saturday morning, one on, is it Sunday night or Sunday afternoon? It's gonna be a pretty cool way. Hopefully we get to see that kind of field change. I think they're gonna have all the logos printed onto the field for Syracuse, Tennessee, and then they'll flip it for South Carolina and Virginia Tech the next day. But for this game, we're gonna go with the Volunteers. Very, very excited to see Joey Aguilar in a Volunteers uniform. I think their fans are, gonna live up to the hype in somewhat going into 2025. I know it was pretty ugly in the offseason with Nico Iamaleava's exit, which was kind of a weird trade. Joey Aguilar, who was at App State, transferred over to UCLA, and then the Nico news happened. Iamaleava then goes to UCLA, then pushes Joey Aguilar over to Knoxville. Just a weird maneuver of transfer portal moves. But I think Joey Aguilar isn't going to be much of a drop-off. Maybe it might be an improvement because I think he's a really, really good protector of the ball. I think he's going to work really well in this Josh Heupel system. I think most quarterbacks in this Josh Heupel system has, kind of thrived, to be quite honest with you. So he's one to be watching. Very excited to see him again in a Volunteer uniform. We're going with Tennessee because of that. And Syracuse, they lost quite a bit. That's not including Kyle McCord. Just a lot of weapons also not there. And then they had some guys graduate, maybe a few on defense, head up to the NFL. And yeah, that's why we don't like Tennessee, or not Tennessee. That's why we don't like Syracuse. Moving on to the next one, Mississippi State at Southern Miss. The Golden Eagles of Southern Miss, they have a 10-game losing streak. I would expect that 10 games to go to 11 with Mississippi State coming into town. A little bit of an in-state rivals. I would say back in the day, maybe when Brett Favre was over there at Southern Miss, maybe this game would have been, a little bit more doable for the Eagles, but not this time around. I think Jeff Lebby definitely wants to show the improvements on the field, especially with the influx of a decent amount of transfer portal guys, of that the program is progressing and getting a decent road win against that Sunbelt foe. Should be in line for the Starkville Bulldogs. So yeah, Mississippi State there. Virginia Military Institute. We're going to jump over the Texas-Ohio State game real quick. The one there on the far right top row. Virginia Military Institute again at Navy. We're going to go with the midshipmen. It's a nice game between two military academies. But yeah, the better one is going to be Navy. I think it's Horvath goes into another season as the midshipman quarterback. Help lead them, if you remember when we did that final game of the regular season between Army and Navy. He had a very, very solid game in there. They'll probably have another one where he breaks off like a 60, 70 plus yard touchdown where the VMI defense falls asleep. But back to that Texas-Ohio State game as we're taking Navy, obviously. Texas at Ohio State. This is one of the few, I think there's only 3 games that we're picking and going against the grain in terms of being not with the favorites with our pick. Texas is not favored. It's a little bit less than a field goal in favor of the Buckeyes there. This is 1 versus 2 here at your Sports Outpost. We're going to talk a little bit more about it. It's one of the 7 games we are going to be previewing at the end of the stream. But we're going to go Texas as this is our quick picks. Duquette versus Pitt for the first time since 1939. These two get to go at it. Pitt at the moment has a 6-game losing streak. Yeah, I think they end it. They also have an old foe from a long time ago come into town. Yeah, the Panthers getting the dub there. They should start off the season real nice. Northwestern at Tulane. This is one of those interesting contests. I think it's one of our pick'em games. I think I have like 3 more pickers. Unfortunately, they didn't pick within the time frame that would have gotten us to show you guys live of like what we should expect on who's favored and who's not in this one. They're in New Orleans, Louisiana. We're gonna go with the Green Wave. They are favored by a little bit under a touchdown and a extra point. Yeah, Tulane with Jake Retzlaff. They did lose some guys in the portal, but Summerall in that program has done an excellent job so far. Post Fritz, who moved on to Houston, they host again Northwestern, a Big Ten school that hasn't been doing so well as of late. I'm not too sure if that last season had anything to do with their stadium being rebuilt, so they got to play on campus and on other locations that they have selected for the Wildcats to play in and host teams. This is an interesting one. Northwestern on the road. I think it's going to be a close one. Tulane almost got Kansas State last season in their, I think, also opener for 2024. But here in 2025, they should be getting the job done. They've just been a very competitive program for whoever they go up against. Ole Miss a couple of seasons ago, they really tested them. And they just know how to do a turnaround on their roster. So I have a lot of faith in them getting the job done there against that Big Ten team coming into town. Ball State at Purdue. This is another one. I think Purdue at the moment has an 11-game losing streak. Very, very unfortunate as they're kind of the... What's the word? I don't want to say the B word because that also fits the description of Purdue in the Big Ten right now. But yeah, the punching bag, the just very bottom, maybe even below the bottom there in that conference. They've not had good success against non, power four programs coming into town. And I think a couple of seasons ago they lost to Fresno State. They have Ball State coming in. It's a MAC Nation school. Could they get the job done? Well, we'll see, because Purdue has a bunch of transfers. West Virginia, and North Carolina have the most coming into 2025. So it's a big influx. They lost so much this past offseason in all positions, everywhere on the field. But it's Barry Odom's second chance at a power conference school. I would think he would have his Boilermakers well prepared to host Ball State and get the win. So we're going to go Purdue. I think that's a little bit of a risky pick, but Odom, in his track record recently, we're going with Purdue. Next up, we have the team that has the longest losing streak. I don't know if you've tuned in to any of our pick'ems, our picks for the last couple of seasons. Kent State has been a team we have not picked very often because they have just been atrocious. The worst team at the FBS level out of all 136, even worse than the two new boys, Delaware and Missouri State. Kent State, again, a 21 game losing streak. Do they break it against Merrimack? We think so here. I was actually talking about this a couple of months ago on X, of like possibly going and losing the rest of their season this year. If they lose to Merrimack, yeah, the Golden Flashes, they will have one of the worst losing streaks in the modern football collegiate history, of where, however you want to phrase it. Yeah, it's just gonna be a big mess. One of the schools, like, I wouldn't be surprised in the coming years if it's just, more derailing, more unsuccessful results on the field. They could possibly go back down, or actually I don't think they've ever gone back down to the FCS, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're a program that just says, we just can't compete at this level. We'll just go down to the FCS and, deal with that. But yeah, we'll see if they break it. Merrimack, not the best. They lost to Dartmouth last season, so I'm not expecting much from them. And Kent State should be getting the job done, even if it's a close affair. Moving down to the left, the far left column, that's Florida Atlantic going to Maryland to take on the Terps. I don't know how I feel about this game. I think Florida Atlantic could make it somewhat of an interesting contest, but yeah, we're gonna go with Maryland. They're in the Big Ten. I guess they've been doing all right over there. I'm forgetting the head coach off the top of my head, who's been there for actually a hot minute. He had Tua Tagovailoa's little brother there for a bit, and then last season wasn't able to get some extra eligibility to play for the Terps, and it kind of all fell apart for Maryland. It looked like they were gonna maybe have a decent 2024. It was all right. I don't think they even made a bowl, to be quite honest with you, off the top of my head. But they should start off the season against this American Conference foe in Florida Atlantic with a home win. Toledo. Are we going to be saying Holy Toledo Saturday morning as they head down to Lexington, Kentucky to take on the Wildcats? Yeah, Kentucky is not looking so good as of late. I know they beat Louisville last season. Actually, they've been pitting it on Louisville pretty well. But, against teams that they might be underestimating, Toledo might be one of them. The Rockets last year went down to Starkville, got a big win in SEC country. That was against Mississippi State. Can they do it again? We'll see. For some reason, I have a W on them. I don't know why. I thought I changed that, but it is what it is. We'll roll with Toledo, and hopefully we're saying Holy Toledo Saturday morning. I guess that's one of the, fourth pick will go against the grain. I think I messed up on the graphic, but we'll roll with it. If any of the games I messed up on, that's actually one I'm kind of fine with. Anyways, Fordham versus Boston College is next to that one right there. The big old red F. The FCS program should be losing to Boston College. Coach O'Brien, going into his second season as the Eagles head coach, did lose some stuff to the portal, but NFL caliber guy, who's definitely has some better days. Should be having a good day against that Fordham Rams coming into town. I believe that's what they're called. Boston College. We got Robert Morris heading over to Morgantown to take on West Virginia. We're going to be going with the Mountaineers there. That one's a pretty easy pick. Rich Rod back in Morgantown as their head coach. His second stint there again in West Virginia. We like it. We love it. We want some more of it. Central Connecticut State in that second one over in that last row. Taking on UConn. That's a fun one. 2 Connecticut schools going at it. Well, we're going to go with the Huskies. Jim Mora, I think, just announced his quarterback. I don't even remember the post, but, it's UConn. They should be decent in terms of taking on FCS opponents, so it's just a pretty safe pick. We'll go, again, with the Huskies. And then the last game, we have another ranked team here at Your Sports Outpost. Number 22, host Old Dominion, and number 22 is Indiana, one of the playoff teams from last season, going into the year, opening up against a Sun Belt program. Old Dominion, they had South Carolina on the ropes there in Columbia in 2024. Are they going to do it for Indiana and the Hoosiers up in Bloomington? Probably not. Kirk Cignetti, pretty good track record of winning. Probably should Google him. That's just a nice joke from 2024 that we're using here in 2025. But yeah, Indiana should be winning that one pretty easily. Whatever the margin is, probably double it. Because, they like blowing out teams there in Bloomington. As we keep moving through Saturday's games, I believe we're about halfway or almost halfway through all 91 matchups for this upcoming weekend. Here on the West Coast, this would be the noon games or early afternoon ones if you're there on the East Coast. Starting with Eastern Kentucky, heading over to Louisville to take on the Cardinals. Jeff Brom coming into another season as head coach over there for that ACC program. Has a lot coming in from the portal, as they usually do. Pretty active. I'm very excited to see how Miller Moss gets things going over there, and that great running back duo as well behind him there in the backfield. So yeah, definitely easy pick with Louisville. Bucknell at Air Force there in Colorado. I was very interested to see if there's any kind of line for this one. The Falcons are favored by 35 points. That is actually one that might not hold. That's kind of like a one where, like, maybe, yeah, if you're dabbling in that kind of realm, that's one where maybe you don't go with the Falcons covering, because Air Force is good, but I don't think they're 35 points better than Bucknell. They struggled last season in general, but maybe Bucknell is so bad that's why they got the 35-point pad before the game's even kicked off. Marshall at number 3, Georgia. We're obviously going to be taking the Georgia Bulldogs. It's the Gunnar Stockton era starting over there, alongside a pretty solid defense on the other side of the ball for the Bulldogs. And Kirby Smart, real smart in getting back to what Georgia is doing, and that's dominating in the trenches. On top of that, the Thundering Herd had a massive exodus before the end of really last season. No one showed up to their bowl game, really. Because they all opted out essentially of the program, even their head coach who's down there at UL Lafayette. So yeah, that's just not a good game for the Thundering Herd. They're gonna be just completely massacred down there again in Athens. Nevada at Penn State. That is the next one up here on the list. That's the one in the top right hand corner. The Wolfpack have a 6-game losing streak. I was a little surprised to see that as a coach, former Boise State position coach. He was over at Texas the year before last as, I think, their defensive line coach. Seemed like the transition was going to work out really well in the beginning for Reno. But it hasn't panned out so well with that 6-game losing streak at the end of last season. But they showed up against SMU in week 0 last year, so maybe they'll make that a game, but it's definitely not going to be going in their favor. I don't know the last time Penn State has lost to this bad of a team. They're in Happy Valley. I know they lost in Happy Valley the last couple of seasons. I don't expect them to be losing to Nevada there. As we keep moving over to now that back left column in the middle, we got Holy Cross heading over to Northern Illinois to take on the Huskies. This line is pretty interesting, pretty low between an FBS and FCS opponent. NIU is only favored by 10.5. I think that's a pretty interesting one. I would say, yeah, if there's any kind of upset, maybe it's one of these. This game, one of the few that we'll mention as possible FCS teams getting one over their FBS opponents. It's very common to open up the season with a lot of these games, as we won't see a lot also of these helmets that I'm bringing up, because they'll go away as we get into conference play. South Dakota heads over to Ames, Iowa to take on the Cyclones, who got that big week 0 win against Kansas State. They basically switched spots as they're the number 15 ranked school here at Your Sports Outpost. We really, really like Iowa. Just in general, even before that game kicked off, even though we favored Kansas State. But yeah, just couldn't get the job done against Cyclones. Cyclones are just really, really good at making adjustments, getting the ball rolling, even with injuries that they've been dealing. We'll see if Burr shows up there at, I believe, left guard, sorry, because he's next to Neil the Third. Man, there's so many names I got to remember sometimes. But yeah, Iowa State, they're in Ames. They should be getting the job done. Even though I think in years past, I think South Dakota's come to Ames and maybe even won, but yeah, not in this era whatsoever. We got Temple at UMass. This is a very, very close game. They're up in Massachusetts. The Minutemen are not favored. Temple, the Owls, come into town as just under 3 points. Should be a very entertaining game. That's kind of why I'm bringing up the margins. So yeah, if that game pops up on your screen, should be entertaining enough to tune in for. One you definitely want to tune in for is going to be a nice little slaughter, is what I'm predicting. Alabama going down to Tallahassee to take on the Florida State Seminoles. Number 5 here at Your Sports Outpost is the Crimson Tide, the number 1 offensive line going into the 2025 season. Yes, one of the best, if not the best, at least in our opinion. Alabama is favored by 2 possessions. Not 2 full possessions, but almost 2 full possessions. I would say it might be even uglier than that. We'll talk about it a little bit more once we get to those previews at the end of the stream. Maine at Liberty, back over to that left column at the very, very, very bottom. The Flames host Maine. They are one of the favorites there in Conference USA to win. And yeah, they'll definitely show it. They're going to be post Caden Salter era, as he's moved over to Boulder, Colorado to play with Coach Prime and the Puffs. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But yeah, Liberty should be winning that one. Next up, we got Montana State at number 6, Oregon. They're in Eugene. The Dante Moore era begins. Cannot wait to see him finally taking snaps for the Oregon Ducks. Sat out last year behind Dylan Gabriel, who's now with the Cleveland Browns and is technically Joe Flacco's backup, but he should be starting pretty soon, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, Oregon. I think they're going to be tested. Last year, they didn't have a pretty game against Idaho in Eugene and Montana State. I know it's New Mexico that they beat in Albuquerque in week 0, but it is Montana State. They are one of the best FCS programs in all of the land at that level. They should be making it at least a competitive game for the first 2 quarters. And then Oregon, and the Ducks, they'll pull away. Dan Lanning has done an excellent job up there in Eugene. We're going to be talking more Oregon Ducks next week as they host Oklahoma State again there at home at Autzen Stadium. Alabama A&M is the next game over. They're heading over to Fayetteville to take on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Yeah, Alabama A&M ain't going to win that game. Arkansas under Pittman, who I believe is going to be in the booth. It was kind of an interesting debate I saw over on X. Last couple of days of coaches in the booth while they're coaching, I guess, and calling the shots. But yeah, regardless of any of that scenario going on or whatever that is, I don't think it's going to be much of a big deal. Arkansas should be blowing out Alabama A&M there with Taylor Green, the second year as their starting quarterback. The last game on the page, we got Chattanooga taking on their somewhat in-state foe, Memphis. This is post Seth Hennigan, who's up in the NFL. I believe he won a backup spot, if I'm not mistaken. I'm forgetting what team he's playing for, but yeah, it's going to be a big change, at least for the offense. Losing him, he was a long time starter for the Tigers there in that great state of Tennessee. But yeah, Memphis should be winning that one at home. I think their stadium is going through like an interesting renovation. I'm not too sure if it's even done yet, which is kind of interesting how some of these teams elect to continue to do that as the season rolls on. But yeah, Memphis should be winning that one there. As that was the noon games on the West Coast, early afternoon games there on the East Coast, into the full afternoon slate of games. We got Illinois State. That one's kind of like hard to come off the tongue. Headed down to Norman, Oklahoma to take on the Sooners. Yeah, Oklahoma gonna get the job done there for sure, as they got a lot of new weapons. Some people brought up that Jaden Ott, I think number 2 or number 3 transfer portal running back, isn't going to be on the depth chart as a starter, but that's kind of understandable. They're taking on an FCS opponent. Acclimate himself. He'll be getting most of the carries as the season rolls on. It's just kind of overhyping what we're seeing on the depth chart there. But yeah, Oklahoma getting the big win to start off the season. Next up, we got Albany at Iowa in Iowa City. Hawkeyes should be getting the job done there. Very physical team. One of the best offensive lines in the land that we like. I think we had them at number 12 out of 25. As we're continuing to move down that top line, we got Weber State at James Madison. They're in Harrisburg, Virginia. Definitely going to be taking the Dukes, one of the best, not only one of the best mascots, best logos, but one of the best what did I say, mascots? Yeah. Best team names, the Dukes. How do you not like that? So we're going to go James Madison, not just because of that, because great turnover. I'm forgetting the new head coach that took over last season for Kirk Cignetti. He's done a fine job. They are pretty resourceful. I think they are wanting to also kind of move up in the ranks, so they definitely want to be competitive year in and year out. So yeah, James Madison for sure here in week 1. Coastal Carolina at Virginia. This one's pretty interesting, but the Cavaliers should be getting the job done. I think in years past, they took on the team that we just talked about, James Madison, and lost. But here against Coastal Carolina, another Sun Belt school, yeah, we don't think it's going to be happening for the Chantlers, who have actually won another cool mascot there in South Carolina, though. That's a little farther down south. Charleston Southern at Vanderbilt. That's the far left top right corner. Oh no, far left, far right top corner. Yeah, Vandy is going to get the job done. This is not the Vandy of old that would be maybe struggling against an FCS opponent. Yeah, the Commodores doing all right for themselves. You got Diego Pavia, who got some extra time of eligibility, at least one more year. He will try to do the best he can, but we'll see teams not be so surprised with them in here for 2025. But they'll definitely get the job done against Charleston Southern. UTSA at Texas A&M in College Station to take on the number 14 here at your Sports Outpost, Aggies. And we're going to roll with the Aggies. Just a stellar offensive line. You got Marcel Reed, who's going to be opening things up a little bit more, hopefully through the passing game. Did lose some weapons in the portal, but they somewhat know how to replace guys as Mike Elko goes into his second season. But the Roadrunners should make it interesting, I think, for at least the first half. John Taylor, who's been sticking around there in San Antonio. Could have gotten some better jobs a couple of seasons ago because he, wants to do a good job down there for, again, the Roadrunners. But it's definitely not going to be good enough against Texas A&M. Next, we got Southeast Missouri heading over to Little Rock, Arkansas to take on the Red Wolves of Arkansas State. This is another close one. I wouldn't be surprised to see SEMO, Southeast Missouri, get somewhat of an upset win over an FBS opponent. Not that we don't like Arkansas State. They have been pretty consistent in getting, bowl eligible records as of late. But yeah, this one might be a tricky one. SEMO, pretty decent in putting great teams out on the field. Get the job done? Yeah, maybe. I think it's about a touchdown and a field goal, a little bit more than that difference in terms of what the line looks like. But I wouldn't be surprised to be disappointed coming in onto Sunday's show and seeing that Arkansas State didn't get the job done. North Dakota at number 18, Kansas State in Manhattan, Kansas. The Wildcats just came off of losing in Dublin, Ireland for the college football opener. We shouldn't see them fumble with the ball here. Their offense should be getting things going. Got to address whatever the offensive line situation, especially on the right side of the ball, on how that all figures itself out. But shouldn't have a problem against North Dakota. They should be getting the win there. Nichols takes a trip to Alabama to take on Troy. We're going to go with the Trojans. They have been a little interesting as of late. Last season, after Summerall and winning the Sun Belt in 2023, had an absolutely just collapse of a year. I don't think they even made a bowl game. We should see them turn things around here in 2025 and get the win over Nichols again. We got Morgan State. They're on that far right second column, our second row over there. Going down to South Alabama to take on the Jags. We like South Alabama. Pretty obvious pick. Let's keep moving. We got the Long Island Sharks coming down to Gainesville, Florida to take on the non-ranked Gators. Yeah, we don't have the Gators ranked. We don't believe in that hype because it's not real. They're going to have like probably a below 500 record. Be lucky to even make a bowl game. Regardless, they should be getting the job done against the Sharks. So let's keep moving because that FCS opponent or FCS team should be as good as everyone says, right? Another one to watch out for that might be an FCS team get one over an FBS opponent. That's Austin Peay at Middle Tennessee State. Austin Peay, I think a couple of years ago, they got a win over an FCS opponent. I think it was more than a couple of years ago now, actually. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised against another Conference USA team that could drop the ball there. Could drop the ball. We'll see. North Alabama is the one to the right of it, taking on Western Kentucky in Bowling Green, Kentucky. The Hilltoppers opened up the season against Sam Houston State. Had a very impressive win. Maybe would have been more impressed if the defense didn't allow 24 points on the board. But the offense, this offense with Matthew Henry at wide receiver, you got McGyver coming in at quarterback. I would like that 1-2 combo for the Hilltoppers, and they're going to be scoring a lot of points against North Alabama this upcoming weekend. Next up to the right of that, we got Missouri State heading over to sunny Southern California to take on USC. I'm actually expecting USC to actually struggle. Not a lot of people have been really honest with this program as of late, especially this past offseason. Talking about you, bald man with the white shirt over there. Yeah, the defense, don't really like it. Don't have too much returning, and still a lot of people like the defense and think it's improving. And then on the offensive side of the ball, completely dropped the ball with Miller Moss. I don't know how you don't take that young man over Mavia, who came in from UNLV last season, won over the starting job. It is what it is. It's just my opinion that USC, again, shouldn't have let that guy go. But it is what it is. USC, again, we're expecting them to struggle, but win against the new FBS program, Missouri State, moving up to Conference USA. The one over to the right, it's one of, again, the few games that we're going against the grain. We are taking UTEP at Utah State in Logan, Utah. The Aggies are actually favored by a little bit under 2 field goals. It's Bronco Mendenhall's opening game as their new head coach. Well, a lot of interesting things going on in this one. You got Malachi Nelson coming in for the Miners. We like him as he was named the starting quarterback. I think it was last week at the beginning of it. Then Utah State last year, Bronco Mendenhall for New Mexico. They had that opening season loss to Montana State that we brought up against the game against Oregon. But yeah, that's kind of why we're going with UTEP. We think their quarterback play is going to be exceptional. Former 5-star guy out of Los Al. Yeah, Malachi Nelson being the difference there, and why they get the big road win for El Paso. As we keep moving through the games, we're about down to the left column, bottom row. That is Arkansas Pine Bluffs, who has a pretty cool logo, nasty looking lion there, heading to Lubbock, Texas to take on the non-ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders. I think in the AP they have them ranked here at your Sports Outpost. They were just right outside the top 25. Just got to see how all these new pieces on offense gel, even on defense as well. I'm hearing murmurs that was a new system implemented there for Joey McGuire and Tech. I kind of just want to see how all of the wheels have been, well oiled and greased, have the ball rolling. This team likes to score a lot of points in the first half. They were top 3, if I'm not mistaken, maybe top 5. If someone checks me, in first half scoring, and I think there were even like 1 or 2 for first quarter points. So I'm expecting that to continue, even with, again, this new offense that's being implemented. But you have your awesome quarterback, Baron Morton, back with a plethora of weapons, both to hand it off to and throw it. But yeah, Texas Tech for sure in a massive blowout at home against Arkansas Pine Bluffs. An interesting one we'll get more into when, again, we get to those previews. We got number 16 LSU at number 7 Clemson. Oh yeah, give me Clemson. They're only 4 points favored in this one at home. I think that's a little disrespectful to Dabo and the Tigers. This LSU team, again, a lot of people have been misleading this past offseason about roster building for Brian Kelly. Everyone just forgets the criticism that he got, especially in that USC game to open up the season, about him just going after the highest guys on the transfer portal list and not really investing into time and getting the right guys down there in Baton Rouge. And I think that's what's going to happen over these next coming years if he's still at the helm there for the Bayou Bengals. But yeah, we'll dive into it a little bit more once we get into those previews. But we're taking Clemson at home. New Mexico at the Big House, taking on number 20 Michigan. Yeah, Wolverines. Southeastern Louisiana. That's the final game there on the bottom row that we're going to talk about. Taking on La Tech. That would be more specifically Louisiana Tech. Yeah, Louisiana Tech should be winning this one, but it's, again, one of those ones I wouldn't be surprised if they drop the ball, like the few that we have already been sprinkling in here of losing to an FCS opponent. This is the one to pay attention to and not to be surprised for. Yeah, sorry, I think I might have burped as I talked there, but it is what it is. Let's keep going. This is the nightcap for Saturday's slate of games. As we'll have this page, one more for the last 3 on Sunday and Monday, and then we'll be into those previews. Georgia State at Ole Miss, number 17 here at your Sports Outpost. We really like Lane Kiffin. We really believe in his efforts in turning over rosters in the offseason. He's already done it there in Oxford, Mississippi. He's going to do it again as he has Austin Simmons taking over as quarterback. We really, really like that young man. And, he should be thriving in Lane Kiffin's offense, who brings in probably the most amount of wide receivers I think this past offseason, there hasn't been a team that's brought in, I think, not only 5 guys at that position, but 5 guys that are most likely to make a big impact. They also have an influx at the offensive line, which will be probably hit or miss, and there's not a single, long-term starter that is returning. It's really like there are 2 tackles who played the same position last year because the other tackle went down. And then in the secondary, that'll be where this team might get exposed early on, but make those, halftime adjustments to pull away against Georgia State, who did beat Vanderbilt last year, but this isn't Vanderbilt. This is Ole Miss under Lane Kiffin. This is a more than great program that will be getting the job done here in week 1. Portland State at BYU, number 21 here at your Sports Outpost. I believe some others, especially in the AP, have BYU a little bit higher, which is pretty interesting. I think 21 is a kind of nice spot, maybe in the high teens. I'm okay with. My big issue is like, how does this quarterback transition happen, and does it take off so well? You got Jacob Retzlaff, who had his off the field issues. He's now moved on to Tulane, and then Bear Bachmeyer, who I went to go try and see last year when he was in high school for Marietta Valley. He ended up being hurt. It is what it is, but it was an excellent, entertaining game against Rancho Cucamonga, which is happening, I think, this week, if I'm not mistaken. It's an excellent game down here in the Inland Empire in Southern California. But back to BYU, going to be very, very cool to see a number 47 quarterback. But how does that true freshman handle everything? Well, this is going to be a decent test for him against Portland State, who definitely got blown out last weekend. But again, it's his first collegiate start. Let's see how he does. We're definitely going to go BYU because of everything else around him. Great offensive line, the top 25 here at your Sports Outpost. Great defense. I really like that linebacker core with a lot of veterans in there. So yeah, BYU. North Texas hosts Lamar there. Wow, is it North Shore, Texas? Is that where North Texas is? Anyways, yes, the Mean Green hosts Lamar. The Mean Green should be getting the job done as we keep moving. And we move to Abilene Christian, going over to Tulsa, Oklahoma to take on the Golden Hurricanes. And, I went through all the lines of all these games, and some of them against FCS opponents, there's not a single line at all. This one surprised me because Abilene Christian is not favored, but Tulsa's only favored by less than a touchdown, 2 field goals, less than 2 field goals, basically. I was like, what's going on in Tulsa? I didn't do much more research. We're going to roll with Tulsa. This is the game where Abilene Christian might pull off the FCS beating the FBS kind of contest. It would be a big bummer if Tulsa would let us down when we come back and review this with a terrible scoreline not going towards their way. They did lose, if I'm not mistaken, to La Tech last year when they came into town. Moving over to Eastern Michigan, taking on Texas State. Mac Nation School staying up late down there in San Marcos, Texas, but should be one that the Bobcats get done. Oh no, Bearcats, sorry, if I'm not mistaken, that's what they're called. Yeah, Texas State under that regime at the moment doing pretty good. They opened up last year, I'm forgetting who they opened up against, had a pretty good game, won that one. It was the Arizona State game that we did a watch along, and they took the Sun Devils somewhat to the limit. That game ended just like how the BYU contest did in Tempe, where we didn't know what the officials were saying. Some people were storming the field, and then it ended up not going Texas State's way, unfortunately. But yeah, Texas State should be getting the job done against the Eagles. Mac Nation, they don't do so well out of conference. And yeah, we'll go Texas State. Rice versus UL Lafayette. Lafayette technically goes by Louisiana, but we've never accepted that name change. It's always going to be UL Lafayette, the Raging Cajun out of Louisiana. They're actually favored. They had a new regime change. The head coach that won the Sun Belt with Marshall last season dipped with a bunch of his players before that bowl game, which I think Louisiana Tech filled in for over there in where starts with an S. Severtsville or something like that. That's where Louisiana Tech is. Regardless, they are favored against the Rice Owls, which is a little surprising because, the Rice Owls are in the American. But UL Lafayette, I guess they are going to be somewhat legit this upcoming season because they're favored by more than a possession. I kind of actually am accepting that. And yeah, we're going to roll with the Raging Cajun, not only because we love their name, but they're going to be a solid team here in the Sun Belt for 2025. One of the teams that we're going to talk about that's taking on SMU, number 12 here at Your Sports Outpost, has had a recent name change. Texas A&M Commerce now turns into East Texas A&M. I think they probably still have the Commerce in, but at least for the sports world, it's just East Texas A&M. That's that nice little lion helmet right there. They take on the Ponies there in Dallas. We're going to take the Ponies. Love me some Kevin Jennings. Love me some Kevin Jennings. And give me some more Kevin Jennings and everything else around him as they open up their season, probably with a nice blowout. Up next, we got New Mexico State versus Bryant. We'll go with the Aggies. I got the sus eyes going on. I know you can't see my face, but you kind of get what I'm feeling with my voice at least. Yeah, the Aggies, I'm watching you. You better not lose this game against an FCS team. As we keep moving back over to that left column, I guess bottom row, at least the farthest bottom as you can go with that left column. I got Georgia Southern heading over to the Valley, and that Valley is the Fresno State one, taking on the Valley Dogs. Bulldogs, if you are a Boise State fan like myself, sometimes we joke around, call them the Bulldogs because of one of the misspellings of a scoreboard of a game a couple of seasons ago. But yeah, Fresno State had a tough start against Kansas in Lawrence last week. They should be having another toughie. I believe Georgia Southern is by a little itty bitty hair, favored on the road here. We're going to roll with the Eagles because it's just a solid program in the Sun Belt. They were actually beating Boise State in week 1 last year when they were hosting the Broncos for a minute there, and then they lost grip of that game. We should expect them to be very competitive in general, especially against Fresno State, who somewhat struggled. They didn't get the ball rolling in the run game. Georgia Southern can do what Kansas did last week in Lawrence. We should expect them to get the win here, and that's what we're rolling with and what we are expecting. Next up, we got the number 9 school, Arizona State, hosting Northern Arizona. The Lumberjacks come to Tempe, and I cannot wait to watch the Sun Devils and their new running attack of Kanye Udo, who comes in from Army, replacing the great Cam Scattaboo. But yeah, we're taking Arizona State as they should not be struggling against Northern Arizona whatsoever. They are a very physical football team. They should continue to do that in 2025. As we move over to one of the few rivalries, and yes, not a lot of us would know about Idaho at Washington State. Battle of Palouse. Loser gets to walk home because of how close things are. It's the 93rd meeting between the two. But we're going to go with Wazoo, even though Idaho should be giving the Cougs a run for their money. Again, it's the Battle of Palouse. This game has a pretty cool tradition back in the day, or at least last century, because again, how close these two teams are. They're right on the border of Washington and Idaho. The losing team would have their fans basically literally walk on the highway back to where they came from. That is, if that's not a rivalry, man, I don't know what kind of rivalries you got in your book, but that's a badass kind of thing where you're a man of your word. We lost, honey, we're walking home. I don't care. I'll come pick up the car tomorrow on Sunday when I'm like basically hungover. Yeah, that's why you gotta love this sport. But yeah, Battle of Palouse, where you're taking the Cougs to win that contest. Hawaii at Arizona. This game should be close if Micah Alejandro is 100%. He is slated to be the starter for the Rainbow Warriors there in Tucson to take on the Bearcats, and we'll see if they can bear down. They did struggle against New Mexico last season when Devin Dampier, who's now the Utah starting quarterback. We're going to get to the Utes there, and the right under that team on that row right here. But yeah, if Michael Alejandro is 100%, the Warriors have a chance. If they is not, then yeah, Brett Brennan will open up the season, get a nice win against Hawaii, who opened up week 0, hosting Sanford there in Honolulu, and got the walk-off field goal win. We'll see if this game is close, but again, if it's not having if Michael Alejandro didn't pick up that injury last week and he was 100%, I would actually be taking Hawaii, and I think the lines would be a hell of a lot different, because this Hawaii team, with him being healthy, has a great wide receiver duo out there. They just need to be able to run the ball. They could not do that last week. Even Alejandro contributing, didn't even get over 100 yards. I'm still not expecting the Warriors to do that, even though now the offense doesn't really rely on the running game, but the fact that they're not going to be so effective there, and you're losing somewhat in terms of like healthiness of your starting quarterback, who's a big difference maker. Yeah, we're going to take the Arizona Wildcats to bear down at home for their opener in Tucson. The final 3 games on this graphic will go to Cal at Oregon State in Corvallis. We're going to go not with the Berkeley Bears, because I guess they kind of play football up there. We're going to go Oregon State. Huge influx of players in and out for both of these programs. It is a 50-50 coin toss. Our side of the coin that we're taking will be the Beavers. They're in Corvallis. They play pretty well at home. At least under Jonathan Smith, who's now at Michigan State. But, it's Corvallis. They get pretty loud there. It should be loud enough for their former Pac-12 foe, Cal, coming into town. And yeah, it's a pretty close one. I think they should win by more than a field goal. That's what I'm feeling. Here we go. The second to last game on this graphic, we got Colorado State at Washington there in Seattle. Yeah, let's get us some Huskies as Jedd Fisch goes into his second season there for Washington. Colorado State does have some guys on offense. I know their quarterback has been the starter there for a couple of seasons now, but it's Washington. You got the new, Desmond Williams era, kind of getting things going and really kind of starting here in 2025. He played against Louisville in the Sun Bowl and had an absolute tremendous performance there in El Paso. He should be having a great performance in his debut in Seattle for the Huskies. The last game in that bottom right-hand corner, we got the Utah Utes, number 24 here at your Sports Outpost, heading down to the Rose Bowl to take on the UCLA Bruins, which is kind of a nice game for Kyle Whittingham to possibly go out with a bang there in the Rose Bowl. Should be an entertaining contest. And yeah, one thing we'll definitely notice if you tune in for this late kickoff, you'll see more Ute fans in the stands than UCLA fans. UCLA is kind of getting that stigma attached to them that's very similar to like the Chargers when they moved to LA, and then probably the Chargers are still one of those NFL teams that have more away fans than home fans. UCLA is basically turning into that, and especially with Ute fans who show up to any Southern California game, because they have a ton of products that come out from the area and a lot of family that will definitely go and show up. Utah is favored only by 6. That's a slap in the face to the Utes. They are definitely going to be blowing out. Unfortunately, Deshaun Foster, who is one of my favorite players growing up in general, because his high school was my rival when I was playing back in the day, long time ago now, it feels like. But yeah, even with him being a rival, technically, you still want him to be successful. I mean, this dude, he technically called my mom, who used to drive him to his games in high school, and told him, went back and, did his like thank yous and everything. So, you can't not root for a guy like that. But regardless, we should see, unfortunately, UCLA getting completely obliterated. Devin Dampier era starting over there for the Utes. And the final 3 games, 2 occurring on Sunday, 1 on Monday. And then I don't think we ever get another Sunday game or Monday contest for the rest of the season. I think even all the MAC Nation and Conference USA games move more to Wednesday, Thursday slots, but that's like way down the line for us here at your Sports Outpost. Anyways, Notre Dame, Miami, down there at Hard Rock Stadium. We're taking the Irish. We'll get into more of it once we do those previews. The other game occurring on Sunday, it's a little bit earlier on in the afternoon. That's Virginia Tech versus South Carolina at Mercedes-Benz. Another one we'll dive into. I thought that line here is pretty interesting, kind of telling. In the Beamer Bowl, South Carolina has a little bit more than a touchdown and an extra point favored for them. I think that might hold maybe a little bit more going into that game again at Mercedes-Benz, going with the Gamecocks. The final game, that one's on Monday. TCU heads over to Chapel Hill, takes on the Tar Heels as Billy B. Belichick opened up his career as a college football head coach for the first time. First time coming to the collegiate level since his playing days at Iowa Wesleyan, where he played tight end. TCU is favored, so this is again one of the 4 games we're going against the grain of who is favored. We're going to go Tar Heels to open up again the Billy B era with a big win at home against a pretty good TCU program. And yeah, that has been it for our quick picks for week 1. Hopefully we dove into those as quick as possible, as we're going to get into now the previews for the rest of the weeks, the biggest games of the weekend. But before we do that, this is the SPO top 25 going into week 1. There were some adjustments from 15 to 18. Those 2 teams played. The winning team basically jumped to where the losing team